Hey y'all, so we are continuing on. I want to talk, so we looked at yesterday about seeking him first, seeking his kingdom first, and that would mean there were other things that we could seek first if he said specifically, seek first my kingdom, my way of doing and being right. So Psalm 1 is a pretty clear picture of that. All my bookmarks just fell out. Let's go back to Psalm 1. We have the blessed one, and then we have the ungodly. And that sounds really harsh, but sometimes we need to know that the reality is harsh, that we do have a choice. It does matter. We can choose to follow Jesus as the blessed one, or we can choose not to follow Jesus, which would make us ungodly. Does that make sense? That really, I don't mean for it to sound harsh. That's certainly not my heart, but it's a choice. And shows if we choose not to follow Jesus, who is the way to the Father God, then we are without God. Without God. That would make us ungodly. And Psalm 1 is a very clear picture. I mentioned this earlier, and it's on day 1 of our Psalm 1 book. And it is, so I've always been different. And those of you who know me need not testify to that fact. But you know the poem by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken? I've quoted the last lines of that poem to myself more times than I can count. Two roads, let me just try that again. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And truly, the road that we choose to take does make all the difference. In life, there are two choices: good and evil, God or our enemy Satan, light and dark. There is no area where the two are commingled. 2 Corinthians 6:14 tells us, "For what communion hath light with darkness?" The two cannot coexist. If you walk into a dark room and you turn the lights on, it's not dark anymore. And when you walk out of the room and turn the lights off, there is no more light. And Psalm 1 paints a clear picture of the two roads. We see the blessed one contrasted with the ungodly. So realizing that the blessed one and the ungodly are two different people is key to making our decisions. So if two things are contrasted, they're compared, and comparison emphasizes differences. So that's one thing that I want you to think about in your own time and in your quiet time with the Father, is differences between the blessed one and the ungodly. When we're looking at Psalm 1, the choices that they make, what choices are made, and what makes one different from the other. Jesus told us in, let's go to Luke 9, verse 23. Well, let's start. When we choose, so looking at the blessed one and the ungodly, when we choose him, his heart, and his ways, and that's what we'll get into, that would be the choices that the blessed one makes. But when we do not choose him, when we choose against him, we choose against his heart, and we choose against his ways, that would be taking the way of the ungodly, those without God. But the life of the blessed one, blessed by definition, if you're blessed, there are good things, there are good consequences to your choices and actions. And then if you are ungodly, then you're without God, without the blessing on your life. But now see that the consequences, both good and evil, have nothing to do with his love for you or for me. Because his love is not affected by our actions. He loves us. He loved us before we knew him. The word tells us that while we were sinners, yet you gave your life for me. So his love for us is never changing. And the life of the blessed one, the life of the ungodly, and the consequences that both see, it's not about his love. It's about the consequences of our choices. It's about when we do things his way, it's the right way and it's the good way. And so there are consequences, good consequences to those actions. When we do not do things his way, there are consequences to those actions. In our society today, we do not like to talk about consequences. Again, blurring the lines between everything being okay and there not being an absolute. There is an absolute. And so that would mean that there are consequences to right and to wrong. So we'll pick up here again tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.